Matt here. I'm here this morning with Mary Egan, the CEO of Gatheredtable, and I'm here in their really homey office over the Smith Tower, overlooking Century Field. Pretty good view, and we're going to have a chat with her today. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about Gatheredtable and what Gatheredtable is.
Gatheredtable is a really unique solution to a widely held problem. At 4 o'clock every day, 60% of Americans have no idea what they're having for dinner. For busy families, the problem is even worse. Between 4 and 6, you see everybody calling their spouse saying, "What are we doing for dinner? Are you going to pick something up? Should we do takeout? What do we do?" And because people don't have a plan, they take shortcuts. They spend too much money doing takeout and they don't eat as healthy as they'd like to do, and then they feel bad about it. And it's one thing, one of our customers said, it was one thing when I was single and I would eat a bowl of cereal for dinner and I didn't feel bad, but now that I'm a mother, I feel responsible. So when a new customer joins Gatheredtable, we ask you a series of questions to understand how to get you a totally customized menu. How many nights a week you want to cook, how much time you have. We'll ask your overall dietary profile, paleo, pescatarian, vegan, vegetarian, omnivore, kosher. You can pick any food in the world that you avoid, whether it's you have an allergy or you just don't like it, and we'll make sure you never get that food on your menu as any ingredient. You can tell us, for example, if you're an omnivore, do you prefer beef most often and turkey not that often? Do you want fish most often and vegetarian a couple times a week? So you can really take the kinds of main dishes within each dietary profile and tell us how much you want each one of those. The other thing is the algorithm will calculate how many vegetable and carbohydrate servings are in the main dish, and it'll only add sides if needed to get you to your goals. So every week you'll get an email with a totally customized menu. You can edit that menu as you like. As you're editing the menu, your grocery list is automatically updating to reflect those edits. And then we're also working with grocery delivery players where with one click you'll be able to say, bring it all to my door, and you'll have all the ingredients you need for your meals for the week. You could be cooking as few as 2 or 3 nights a week, which some of our customers do, or as often as 5, 6, or 7 nights a week, which some of our customers do.
You know, part of an entrepreneur's toolkit and things that entrepreneurs have to do regularly is to tell a compelling story. And that can be done in pitching, that can be done in trying to recruit talent. Pretty much anytime you're talking about your company, I think you really have to tell a compelling story to draw people in.
Yeah.
What are some of your tips and tricks for doing that, for telling a compelling story?
Yeah. Great question. Well, I think what every entrepreneur wants is that one-line pitch that's super easy to understand. So LinkedIn, Facebook for your business life. It's a beautiful thing, but not every business is going to have that. Our business has much more complexity than that, and we struggled with trying to get that one line like LinkedIn, and we couldn't get it right. So we just accepted that reality. And what I would say, one of our learnings is that people can listen to and absorb and engage in a much more complex pitch as long as it's clear. And so what's important is solution and problem being super clear. Every good business solves a problem, or maybe it solves an aspiration. So maybe I don't have a problem, but there's something I dream of doing or being, and it helps me get there, or I have a problem I'm trying to solve and it helps me solve that. The more widespread the problem and the more acute the problem, the more compelling the business, and the better your business solves the problem, the more compelling the business. So what you want to communicate in your story is the problem is widely held, the problem is not a latent problem but a very acute problem that people are actively trying to solve, that the current solutions don't really deliver, and how your product or service is going to solve the problem in a unique and differentiated way. And I think if you can cover that, you've got a really compelling story. It'd be great if we could all have the one line like LinkedIn, but it's not going to happen.
Interesting. So on top of that, you just got my mind thinking. So one of the things that I've seen as an entrepreneur is kind of ingraining your story in culture. Do you think that's pretty important to kind of ingrain the story you're trying to tell in all of your employees, so that when they're building, when they're talking to people about their company, that they always are portraying that story? Is that pretty important, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the things we've tried to do in our office space is our tagline, which is trademarked, is "Where modern meets homemade," because we're using modern technology to enable and encourage and empower people to do a really homemade thing, which is making meals from scratch. And our office space kind of has that same contradiction. So we have a lot of thrift store furniture and flea market furniture and sort of homemade stuff. We have homemade meals here every day. Our chief recipe curator curates meals. We test them here in our test kitchen. We are photographing them here in our test kitchen. So there's all that happening. And then everyone on the staff is a user. So on a Monday especially, everybody will come in talking about what meals they tested over the weekend. We'll take things from our test kitchen, which is a private site where we have things we want to test, and move them over to the Gatheredtable library based on everyone's reviews and testing over the weekend. So I'd say it's a pretty active dialogue. Some people on the staff only cook like one night a week, but they still participate, and other people cook almost every night. So we have the whole gamut. We also have a lot of people doing really Northwest foodie things. So we have a guy who raises his own chickens and makes his own eggs. We have another guy who keeps bees and harvests honey.
Wow.
Emily, who's our head of product management, has a really extensive garden and basically cans and pickles things so that all winter long she's bringing in all this fresh stuff from her summer garden harvest. So it's a pretty exciting team just in terms of people's engagement with the product.
Yeah, well, I love that. You want a home cooked meal every day. We're up here, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop by every once in a while.
Okay, sure. Fridays is the best day because Fridays is a meal for everyone. The other days is just 5 people at a time. So
Really cool. Okay, so along with telling a compelling user story, customer value prop often coincides with that.
yeah.
What's Gatheredtable's customer value proposition? What do you tell your potential customers?
Yeah, so all of our customers that I've talked to already are aware of the problem. So I don't have to convince people. People have said things to me like, you had me at hello. One woman leaned across the table and said, this is my #1 domestic problem to solve. And it was interesting because I'd never thought of domestic problems as a category, but it made sense. Another woman said to me, my husband and I never argue, period, about anything, period. And then after a long pause, she said, about this. And we always fight about it. So having a plan changes everything about the 4 to 7 p.m. experience for busy families. And that part is easy to convince people of. The other thing we know from our beta test customers is Gatheredtable saves them an average of 2 hours a week and reduces their stress by more than 50%. And so when you tell people that for $10 a month, you're going to save 2 hours a week, it's a pretty easy sell.
Okay, awesome. So one thing I noticed when I was reading your profile online was that we asked a question saying, if your company was to be an animal, what animal would that be? And I saw you chose Labradoodle. So why did you choose Labradoodle? Why is Gatheredtable relevant to Labradoodle?
So I have a pet Labradoodle.
Okay.
And I don't know that much about dog breeds, so I knew about Labradoodles because that's what I have. Labradoodles were created, my understanding is because poodles are really smart, but maybe not always that sweet. And Labradors are really sweet, but maybe not always that smart. And so Labradoodles were created to get sort of smart and sweet. And what I like about Gatheredtable is it's a really smart algorithm and a really intelligent back end that has a really sweet, charming front end, and that is trying to basically encourage a sweet moment where you're cooking for others and you're sharing a meal together. And so that contrast of smart and sweet, I think, is a good analogy for us. The other thing is Labradoodles are hypoallergenic, so even people who don't like dogs like Labradoodles. And Gatheredtable, even if you say, I don't like to cook, you will like to cook with Gatheredtable because we make it super easy.
Nice, I like it, I like that. So is there anything before we wrap up here you'd like to tell the viewers that are watching today about Gatheredtable?
Please visit our site, Gatheredtable. We'd love to have you join up. And if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. We're learning a lot from our users, and so please join our movement. The last thing I'd say is that Seattle is such a great place to be a startup. The community here has been incredibly supportive and welcoming, and everything from you coming in here today telling me to start it in as volunteers, and you guys are doing this just to support the community in your spare time. That's just a symbol to me of the experience that I've had and my team has had as we have grown this business to date in Seattle. It's been really a wonderful thing. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I agree. Seattle's awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Mary, for joining us today. And if you guys have a moment right now, go and check out Gatheredtable.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.